I think most people would be surprised to hear that you served in the military.
Yeah, that's always a big shocker for sure. I mean, I think what drew me to it was just a yearning to create a life for myself that I didn't think was possible given the environment that I was in. And I think that at a very young age, I've always been um, very, very determined. And I think that I had big ideals for myself. And I grew up in a very small town in Texas, in a space where not many people left. My family didn't have a lot of money. And so I also knew that I wanted to go on to college and really kind of create a life for myself. And so at the time, that felt like a really good opportunity to carve out independence for myself. And I think led me to this path of therapy, like many among this path, it was really a matter of finding healing for myself, finding answers for myself, and I think really trying to understand myself in this world and how to maximize my potential. So I would say initially it was very self-serving.
Sure.
A lot of innate curiosity so as to kind of work through that myself. And I think once I started to find some of that healing, I think the natural cycle of that is you want to start giving that back to others and to help people who have been on similar paths. So got through the military many, many years later. As I was finishing up my training to be a therapist, I found myself back in the military setting, but this time in the VA working with veterans. Didn't think I was going to find myself back in that space. I felt like at that point, the military felt like another life. I mean, I hadn't really thought about it much. I mean, of course, there were elements of it that I think were embedded within my life in this very subtle, subconscious way, but it wasn't something that I actively thought about. It felt like a very distant life from me. But I think it was an incredibly powerful experience to be back in that setting and just kind of seeing firsthand how necessary this is for our veterans. And at that point, so now I primarily work with women. Of course, in the VA setting, it was primarily men. And I remember there was one group in particular that was just so impactful for me. I was hosting this therapy group for men, and it was positive living for the aging. And it was a lot of Vietnam veterans. And, they were at a time where we didn't really celebrate our veterans in the way that we do now. They didn't have a lot of resources. And so having this group of men be able to collectively come together, share their experiences, connect with one another, and have this safe space to really feel heard and seen, it was powerful. I mean, these men were so grateful for the services that we were giving them. Yeah. That was seeing also the real impact of like capital T trauma. We all experience traumas, and it's not to minimize one over the other. Sure. But I mean, these people experience real war trauma. And I think seeing how that impacted not just the psyche, but the whole body made me realize, okay, we have to incorporate the body in this healing process. So that was kind of the beginning of the gestation of incorporating somatics, but it didn't quite, I wouldn't say it didn't quite get incorporated immediately, but the wheels were spinning, you know what I mean? Sure. A seed had been planted, yeah. And later things kind of started to come together more and more.
Sure. Now, and yeah. I'm so glad that was such a great experience for you, because I feel like not only can it be hard to, I mean, a lot of people know my father's in the military, so it can be hard to break through emotionally for a veteran to begin with, but also just the older generation.
Oh, yeah.
The older generation looks at therapy and mental health totally different than we do. So the fact that they were open and receptive is really beautiful, because I think a lot of people, when they get to that stage, maybe you're not, a senior citizen yet, but even when you're kind of approaching those ages, you might think like, oh, everything's fine, everything's good. But kind of like you said, the body speaks to you. If you're not dealing with your trauma, your body is dealing with it.
Absolutely.
So when I saw that you were incorporating somatic healing practices, you said that was kind of the start, like the spark of it. What kind of continued down that journey? Because some people might still consider somatic healing as like this woo-woo thing. Yeah. And even though you and I are totally into it, it's something that I feel a lot of people maybe aren't afraid of, but just find to be borderline taboo, even some people do,
Yeah.
especially if they come from certain backgrounds where maybe religion might be a part of it too. I feel like some people from my background, heavy Christian background, somatic healing, like shaking and letting your body and using your breath in different ways. Like, what are you talking about? Like, what spirit is entering you? Kind of a deal. I've heard all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
So